Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome again to our weekly streams at Cubing Life. Everybody can still hear me. That's good, right? So I'm Antoine, co-founder of Cubing Life Academy, and today we have Benjamin Kyle, who is going to be giving a stream, who's going to be hosting this stream about Pyraminx, because Benjamin is our Pyraminx master here at Cubing Life. And before we start, I just want to mention as well that our summer courses, the registration actually ends tomorrow. So if you're interested in our courses, we have all kinds of courses, all of these courses being live group courses. So they're all live with a teacher. And so it's not a pre-recorded course that you can end up having lots of questions and not knowing where to go after this. But our courses are always live, so you can always talk to the person teaching and have all kinds of great discussions. And also in these summer courses are in small groups, so you get to have this class experience with different students, different friends in your class that you can learn together, and also being mini sessions for a long period of time. So you have this long period of time where you can learn things. You have homework and assignments so that you can really do the best of your improvement. So that's kind of what we do at Cubing Life. And then I also want to put an emphasis on the Pyraminx course that we have starting off next week as well. That Pyraminx course is taught by Ben. So I think, Ben, maybe you want to talk, maybe spend a minute and talk about the Pyraminx course that we have and kind of how it relates to the stream that we're doing today.
Yeah, the Pyraminx course is basically an L4E course, which stands for last four edges. And it's where you build a V on a Pyraminx, which looks like this. You build a V shape, and then that leaves you with four edges to solve. In this case, I only got three, but usually I'll have four edges to solve. And I will teach you how to solve the four edges in one move, no matter what the case is. And that's the goal of the course. You should enter the course knowing already how to solve the Pyraminx. But if you don't know the algorithms for the last four edges, then I suggest you register. Is my audio okay?
Yeah, your audio is fine, but you're unmuted on the wrong device, and so we're not seeing you while you're speaking.
Oh no, I see. Okay.
But
I'm just going to start my video on my phone then.
Yeah, fantastic. So today, Ben is going to be looking at some example solves. We have a few people that submitted some solves. And so we're going to be taking a look at those. And then Ben also brought Max along. So Max, do you want to say hi? Max is Ben's student as well. So has been working with Ben, learning some Pyraminx. And so they're going to be discussing different solves and different techniques for these Pyraminx solves, right?
Yeah, welcome, Max. Max is my student who, since we started, at the beginning, he didn't know algorithms for every L4E case. He did it in a very intuitive way. And from the first lesson, we just introduced a very algorithmic approach. In every class, I check in with every single case just to make sure he has a good strategy for solving it. And I'm a strong believer that the more algorithms you know on Pyraminx, the better you'll be, because it just unlocks more and more options. But Max, you can speak on how you've enjoyed the in-person course so far, if you'd like. But
yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I think I've learned a lot of new algorithms, and yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to do that with Max. But today we're going to be analyzing two other people's solves, Jovan and Boyan. And first we're going to start with Boyan. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead and take it away.
Okay. So this is Jovan. And with every single case, just to make sure he has a good strategy for solving. Just a moment. Okay, can everyone see this, my screen, and is my... There's a 4-move red V if you solve this center in 1 move. This center here. The red axis is this corner, and this corner. And so the 4-move V would be to solve this center, then kick this edge out of the way so you can solve this center. And that's exactly what Boyan does. So he first does this tip, kicks that center out of the way so that he has the V. If you were able to follow along, it was to starting from he does the V. What's important here to my critique is that he does the V with the red on front and green on the bottom, and his V solution is L prime, R prime, U prime, R. And that leads into my very first piece of advice is he's building the V such that it's in the front and the L4E case is from the bottom edge. And that's kind of the exact opposite way that I like to build my Vs. I prefer to build the V on bottom and then have the L4E edge directly in front for me. So you'll see that he has like these awkward rotations right after he finishes his V because he's unable to recognize what case he has efficiently. Because he starts from here, he does R prime, U prime, R. And then look, his V is completely on bottom. Or he built the red V here, so he has to do a lot of rotations to recognize this case. But he does happen to just get a 2 flip, and then he just goes with the yellow layer and just does this algorithm. Pretty standard 2 flip algorithm. So my main feedback on that solve is to try and build your V on bottom so that the L4E is in front. That'll cut down your recognition time significantly. Max, do you have anything to say about this?
No, I think, yeah, you said it well. Just do V on bottom and like, yeah.
Yeah, this is something I tell Max a lot in our class because we all have the tendency to want to build the V in front. We get to see like how it's constructed a lot easier, but then when it comes to recognition, it's not ideal. In terms of very particular advice about the solution, I'm going to scramble again on my cube. And I'll switch cameras. So here we are. And what I would have done on this scramble as like the most advanced solution I can see. I hope my view is all right, but let's just get the tips out of the way.
Ben, sorry, can you unmute your, can you unshare your screen so that we can see your pictures in the big screen? Yeah.
Okay. So first thing, I've got the tips solved. I hope you all still have the scramble. If not, I'll just show it briefly. It's in that setup. Okay. Now, as the most advanced solution I can think of, I'll leave it there so that you can see the screen. I'm looking at the yellow layer, which can be done with R prime, U prime, L prime from this angle. So the yellow layer on bottom. And there's this two-flip algorithm where so the standard way of doing a two-flip is to have it in front and do some kind of double sledge move. But in general, if you are one move into a two-flip on the top, where your last move basically puts a flipped edge in, you can always cancel into an alternate two-flip algorithm. And the way it works for this case, if my last move is an L prime and it brings this flipped edge in, instead of doing the L prime, I can bring the layer edge in the front to the front and then do this insert of this edge up here. So basically like temporarily hiding this layer or this edge in a way that inserts this other two flipped edge with R, U prime, R prime. And then when you go to fix the layer, you're done. So just to summarize, another two flip algorithm goes like this. So L to bring in either of the two flipped edges. Then you insert the other flipped edge into the bottom. In this case, I can do it like this. And then U L prime. So that's just an optimization. You don't need to use that at this level, Boyan. I want you to focus on limiting your rotations first. But I thought I would share that because I do use those two flip algorithms all the time. Now I'll switch back to my computer and we can look at the second solve. Okay, so we're back to the video. And here's the second solve. The scramble is, we'll look at the scramble after. Okay, I hope everyone was able to see that. Here is the reconstruction that Boyan provided. Is everyone following? Who wants to follow? I hope everyone can hear me. Okay, I'm gonna assume we're good. Can someone just reassure me in the Zoom chat that
Yeah, we're good.
it's working? Okay, very good. All right, so Boyan goes for the yellow V this time, and I'll play his solution, but it's a pretty obvious two-move V. So he rotates, does it in the front once again, UL. And then once again, he does 3 or 4 rotations just to get set up for the V in the bottom. And once again, if you were to instead do your V from green front, or sorry, red front, yellow bottom with RL, then you would be set up right away for the L4E. Or sorry, if you were to do V with the blue front, yellow bottom, BR, then you'd be set up for the L4E. One thing I can't stress enough is if you can incorporate B moves into your solves as early as possible, it'll help you a lot in the long run because B moves are very much viable in Pyraminx these days, and some people use them in almost every solve. So I suggest building Vs on the bottom with the L4E in front, even if it means adding some B moves into your V solutions. So then he does a very good alg, but first he recognized it wrong, but it's for this case where you have this edge here and this like double bar in front. He was about to do sledge, but in this case, you do hedge insert. So he does that. That's the exact algorithm I would have used in that case, so very good. It also skips AUF before and after. So I have no issue with the actual solution. I think it's pretty much optimal. It's just, once again, limiting rotations and yeah, making sure you recognize your L4E case well. Basically, when you're here, you recognized it so that the yellow, you thought the yellow sticker, you did the algorithm, you started to do the algorithm for when the yellow sticker is on this side, which I totally understand, but I suggest in terms of recognition, the first thing you should look at is, or you should know is where that last yellow sticker is and work your L4E solution off of that. So there's not much else I have to say on this. Max, do you have anything?
No, I think, yeah, just do V's on bottom and not on front.
V on bottom. And
rotation.
Max also uses that algorithm. Max loves to do sledgehammers and hedge slammers in order to set up L4E cases. So we both use that algorithm, and I'm impressed that you know it, Jovan, so keep doing that. Next scramble. Okay, so he did the blue face before we start. And it was a good L4E case, but I do have issues with your V solution, so let's reconstruct it. This is good though that you did the V on bottom this time. So you go here and you start by doing a tip. Let's look around. This is something that just with practice you'll improve on, but you're solving the centers and then inserting the edges one by one. In general, you want to be trying to block build to make a V, but sometimes this is the best you can find, so I'm not going to berate you for that. But here you solve the centers first, and then you're just going to individually insert edges. So you put in this blue yellow first, like that. That's all right. Looking around, you see this one. Insert it there. And then you notice you have a 2 flip, and this is a very good alg. I will show you a fancy algorithm for this 2 flip on the side, just in case you're curious. So right here, when you insert your last edge on red, so you're inserting this blue-red edge right here, R, U prime, R prime. And right here, I'm going to type, so let's see, yeah. So you inserted that last edge. Now right here, what you can do from this angle is L sledge U L prime. And basically what the theory is there is this is a flipped edge right here on my cursor. This is the other flipped edge. So you can do an L move to put both of the flipped edges in front and then do the standard 2 flip algorithm, sledge U L prime U prime L, and that cancels 2 moves along with the AUF. So right here you could do L and then R prime, L, R, L prime. And then you just have a U L prime and you're done. So I'll play what that would look like. So you're inserting this final edge. And then you're setting up to a 2 flip in front. And then you do this like standard alg sledge, U L prime, U prime, but you cancel 2 moves. So that would have been my solution from that V. The rest is not going to work because it's the moves you did instead. Now I'll show on I guess I'll show what I see on this scramble instead. So scramble, I hope you can read it. So on yellow, I see a 4-move V right away. You can do from yellow bottom, I'll solve the tips right away, but from yellow bottom, you can do L prime, U prime, R prime, B prime. And that's just by looking at these edges. L prime, U prime, R prime, B prime. You'll see V's like that in, just as you practice. And you'll get what's called a Polish flip. And I want to demonstrate the best way of doing the Polish flip. So L prime, so green front, yellow bottom, L prime, U prime, R prime, B prime. And you have L4E over here. And this is called the Polish flip. It's when the V edge is flipped in place and you have 2 oriented edges and this kind of block right here that's misoriented, but it's misoriented. And here, a way that a lot of beginners do it, and something I used to do, is R, U prime, R prime, U prime hedge, which is good, but the algorithm I use 99% of the time now is by doing a U prime first to adjust it, and then I'm inserting this edge to the bottom with R, U prime, R prime, and that sets me up here. I'll bring U prime L. And this is something I try to get Max to do as much as he can as well, is use algorithms that benefit from the really fast U prime and U like flick moves. So here I'm pushing with my index finger, whereas a lot of beginners, they want to reach for the back and pull from back here. But I suggest anyone who's watching this who cares about getting fast at Pyraminx to start introducing these flick moves. So this, I call it like a push flick on both sides. And then if I were to push from here, you also need to be able to do that where you're like pushing with your nail. And I think all of the top Pyraminx solvers, if you watch their solves in slow motion, they're pretty much doing all their U and U prime moves with these push flicks and nail flicks. So here I'm doing R, U prime, R prime, L prime, U prime, L with my nail. And this is something that I have struggled with throughout my time solving Pyraminx, primarily because of hardware. Like the MoU ball bearing Pyraminx from my time was not good for doing those sorts of flicks. So ever since the new like Pyraminx have come out, I've learned to do that. But I suggest the earlier you start, the better. And yeah, Max, do you have something to say?
No, I don't have anything to say about this song.
Max, are you speaking or?
No.
Okay, sorry. All right, I'm gonna continue with this next solve. 4.77. It's the fastest solve, I think. Okay, he gets that same two flip L4E case. So I'm gonna play it one more time. He's doing the red V. Very good V solution. Pretty good solve overall. And I see he's got gives himself a little cheer because he liked it. So let's do this fourth solve. Scrambles on screen. Okay, I do have an alternate solution that I will show after, but if we go with his solution first, he's doing the red V, and he sees very good that there's this red-green block that's going to help him. His red centers are here, 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 and here. So he's going to build the V around this block and this block that he has. But the issue with this block is that it's kind of blocking this center, whereas this block is free to just go in. So he's going to solve this center first and then hide this block temporarily, bring this center in, and then unhide the block. Very standard procedure. So he does L, oops, sorry. He does L R prime U R. Very standard V solution. And he rotates. Once again, you could have done this V on bottom, but he rotates and he sees this two flip sledge insert. Very good alg. Also, now I guess I'll talk about tips. A lot of the top Pyraminx solvers like to do as many tips at the beginning of solve because it helps not only with recognition later in the solve, but it just allows them to just spam TPS without thinking. So just turn as fast as they possibly can, and there's nothing more to look at if you know the exact moves you're going to do. Whereas if you have tips left to solve, you're going to be completing your algorithm and still have to think about them, which can add brain processing time to your solve. So I recommend you either do all tips at the beginning, or at least if you have two tips, you should be doing them at the beginning, in my opinion. I know Jasper Murray, former world record holder, his strategy is to do the B and the U tip at the start, and then the R and the L tip at the end, because he finds that as he finishes his L4E algorithm, he can just, as he's dropping the cube, do the R and L tip. no problem. So whatever works best for you, just try not to leave this like U tip along with an AUF. That's never good. To have to do this U move and then the U tip, it's not ideal. So I'll briefly go over my solution. If we scramble here, so I'm going to get the tips out of the way just to, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Antoine asks, do I have any pointers about turning in general? And yeah, I recommend incorporating those U and B flicks into your solves as much as you can. I recommend you practice your algorithms and just time them on StackMat, how fast you can do. Keep track. That'll improve your turning a lot. And obviously start all your algorithms from the home grip pretty much always. And you're going to be doing a lot of flicking if you want to turn fast. Anyways, for this scramble, how do I set up my Pyraminx? So this is a MoU magnetic Pyraminx, or sorry, this is the Weilong V2, the Weilong magnetic Pyraminx, and this one I got set up by the Cubicle. This is Stephen Werchingham's Pyraminx. I don't know if I'm sharing the right screen. Yeah. I personally like it on the looser side. But I recommend, yeah, make sure your tensions are even. Make sure your tips are fast. If you have slow tips, you'll be going to do like the finish your solve, or you'll be going to finish the tip at the end of your solve, and your whole layer is going to move. So make sure your tips are good. All right. Yeah, make your tips as fast as you can so that when you're going to do the last move of your solve as a tip move, it doesn't turn the whole layer. And generally just, you want a fast Pyraminx, but not so fast that when you do a flick move, you're doing like a U2, because that can happen for sure. But whatever works best for you. The new Pyraminxes these days that are very good, and whatever you use, make sure you're doing flick moves. So here, what I would do is, if you can see my screen, I would, yeah, for here, I would do a 3-move yellow V on bottom with the L4E ready to go in front with RU L prime. And if you track this edge, that's a green sticker, that's a blue sticker. This center is going to be doing a U. So this edge is going to be solved up here. And then you just get a simple insert. And that'll just, seeing that will just come with practice, but you should be able to see these 3-move Vs at this point where this block's ready to go in. Doing that move to solve this block is going to kick this edge right here. And you just have U L prime to finish. Let's do the last scramble. So there he likes his time, but he does get the Polish flip. And I mentioned earlier that he's the beginner algorithm is to do a couple moves to set up to a sledgehammer. That's what he goes for. So here I would have liked to see him do the 6-move algorithm instead, which I'll show. But he's doing the green V in front once again. This time the rotation is not so bad, just by the way he did his V. And then here he goes for U, L prime, U, L, U sledge. And then once again, he has that U move plus the U tip, which is not optimal. But overall, good turning on this one, I would say. And let's jump into the reconstruction. He's doing green. He does a tip. He's bringing this block in with L prime. And then he's hiding this block. Very good to bring in that last center. He does a couple of rotations. Here, you might as well do the U tip, but you should have had it done already. And then here, I would insert this edge. I'll show everyone the algorithm he goes for, and I'll show two better options. So here he does U, L prime, U, L, U sledge. So going with the same V solution, we're here at L4E, and we have a Polish flip. And right from here, what you can do is, this is the very first thing, and it's not advanced at all, is R prime, L, R, L prime, so a sledgehammer, U, R prime. And that would skip the AUF before and after the algorithm. So I'll show you what that looks like. Solves his V. That's the green V right there. He's ready to go. And you recognize it by this bar here and then the other two edges that have no bars over here. And because the bar's in front, you can solve this edge to here with a sledgehammer. That's kind of the overall way to remember this algorithm. You start with a sledgehammer. I'm just going to do the U tip as well, just to be less distracted. So right here, you start with a sledgehammer. U, R prime. So that's a new algorithm that you can add to your toolbox. But what I would have done here instead is U prime, L prime, U, L, R prime, U, just because it's so nice with the finger tricks. So instead of sledging right here to solve this edge, you can insert that edge to the bottom as if you were building a layer and you were building, like, you needed that red edge. So you do U prime, L prime, U, L, and then you have R prime, U. That's the algorithm I try to show Max once again. But that's all the critiques I have for this solve. Just try to do your V's on bottom. Try to add more fluidity to your solves. So always be thinking about what you're doing next, because I notice you pause a lot. It'll all come with practice. Maybe get a different Pyraminx. I think you're using the MGC, and it's not known to be like a flagship, or not known to be like the best Pyraminx. So look into that, whatever works best for you, and just do a lot of solves. Max, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I think you covered everything well, and yeah, we can move on.
Okay. But yeah, that algorithm, Max, what do you think of the algorithm that Boyan used for V? I know you sometimes use it, and it's not the worst, and it's really good if the AUF works for it. But right here, he does U, L prime, U, L, U sledge.
Yeah, personally, I would like sledge at the beginning before, and then get the the other
Yeah,
case.
if you're looking for a general tip, Boyan, in when you see a bar like this where it's not exactly like a solved bar, but you have this, Max can tell you that he in L4E, at least what he's known to do is to immediately sledgehammer here just to solve that edge to there. Is that right, Max?
Yeah, so like you put the sledge, so you solve the piece there, and then you just insert the rest.
Exactly. So sledge, you are fine. Since we only have 15 minutes left, let's go through Boyan's solves. Cubing chaos. Yeah, that was slightly out of frame. He's inserting edges one by one, doing LBL. So I suggest you start to do L4E as a very first tip. But because it's out of frame, I'm not going to reconstruct it. Second solve. Inserting edges one by one. Here, I'll play it in slow motion. So right here, you have this L3E case where it's like an insert, except you have this block, kind of like the same bar that I just mentioned where a sledgehammer would solve that edge. So instead of inserting it, you can do a hedge slammer, so L, R prime, L prime, R, and then you'll have an insert on the right side instead. And that's just it's one of the 4 L3Es you need to learn as you transition into L4E. So when you insert it, you're going to get a 2 flip. And here you bring the 2 flipped edges. So you did a U prime, U prime. You can obviously eradicate that from yourselves. And then here you have sledge and you have this like grip, kind of old style turning 2 flip, which can still be very fast. Good execution. Next. So let's look at the tip pickup here. So good. I like to see that you're doing 2 tips at the start. 3 tips. So try to do those more fluidly. That'll just come with practice. So once again, you're solving all the centers to the front and then rotating. That's something you can definitely do on the bottom right away. And then you're ready to insert edges. You can track edges as you're solving the centers. Always like the color you're picking, put it on the bottom in general. That's my biggest piece of advice this entire stream. Build your V or your base from the bottom. Because you're going to rotate anyway. And you hedge in this edge. Here you have 2 more edges left. You insert that one. Then here you think you have a sledge, but it's going to give you a 2 flip. Another U prime, U prime. So just do a U. And similar solve. Now let's go to the 4th one. So you're solving the green, or no, you're doing yellow. So that time you did do the centers on bottom, which is great. Keep doing that. You have the yellow on bottom, and now you're inserting these edges. Here you should do L prime U L. And you do that, that's good. Okay, one more. L prime U L. Now let's see what algorithm you use for this LBL case. So you're still recognizing it, but here all you need to know is that there's one oriented edge and the other two are misoriented. So they have these like fake bars. You put the oriented edge in the back and you can do R prime, U prime, L prime, U, L, R. Okay. So you use the correct algorithm, but the recognition was iffy. The way I like to think about this case is you have one edge that has no connection to it. So this one has this blue connection. If you were to rotate, you would have a red connection on the right side. But this edge will have nothing connected to it. Always put that in the back and then start with the move that doesn't affect this connection. So this is a connection and R prime is not gonna touch it. So right here, you should know, just do the R prime. Insert R, very good. And right here, you can be flicking from this red sticker with your left index. And that's what I called a push flick early in the stream. But that'll just, yeah, you should start to implement those types of flicks. Now let's skip to the final scramble. Okay, so we're doing yellow. And you solve the centers on front once again. You know now not to do that as much. Insert that edge, insert that edge, and now you have L4E. Here I predict you're going to do U prime, R, U prime. So you insert that edge and you have the same case as before, but just on the other side. So right here, you should be able to recognize your case. You have this red connection that I was speaking of, and you have a green connection in front. So if you do an L, the move that doesn't include that front connection, then that's the start of your algorithm. That's the method. So here, okay, good. L, U, R, and here you're gripping with your entire hand. Try to stay at that home grip, which I'll show again on my in the last few minutes of the stream on my phone camera. You're gripping with the entire hand, so you want less hand in there. And then you finish off with the tip. Good timer stop. And that's the end. Max, what do you have to say about Boyan? I think this is Boyan solves in general.
Yeah, I just find when he approaches the U tip, sometimes he moves his whole hand up just to turn that one tip, which I find a little strange sometimes.
Right. So here, the very last move of his solve is actually a U tip, but he rotates and treats it as an R tip. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but like in the beginning of his solves, sometimes he also like moves his whole hand up just to do like a U tip turn.
I see. Okay. So yeah, at that point, if you're going to completely change your grip from like the right side of the Pyraminx, all just for one tip, like pretty much doing an entire rotation for one tip, you might as well leave that tip to the end or figure out a better way of doing it. And flicking with your index fingers is a very good strategy for the U tip at the beginning and end of the solve. So here, when you see that you have this tip on the right or on the top, and you rotate so that it becomes to the right. So right here, you rotate and then use your whole entire hand. But maybe your hands are still growing and that's why, but try to flick it with your left index next time. And in terms of your solutions, it's okay that you're using layer by layer for now. It's a good transitional method. But just do more and more solves, and you'll be able to find quicker ways of inserting edges, and always build your layer on bottom. Like build the base of the layer on bottom as well. That's the moral of the story. Antoine asks how to reduce +2s. Similarly, yeah, go ahead.
I think I also want to add a little bit about the what we just talked about the tips, and doing the tips with like your entire hand, but you should really be flicking. I'm actually one of those people who does the tips with the entire hand still, and the reason for that is that when I do with flicking, I often get like +2s. Like I often turn inaccurately, and then I like over flick it. But come to think of it, using the entire hand, I also sometimes do that because I do it while putting down the cube, and so it risks overturning. But so that's one of my really big problems with Pyraminx is that I very often get +2s. So I want to hear your thoughts on how to reduce that.
Okay, well, one thing that anyone can play around with, because this is kind of talking about hardware too, is you can take apart your tip and take off 1 or 2 magnets and see if that helps you. Like the tips come with, I think, 2 out of the 3 magnets usually. So try maybe 3 magnets, try 1 magnet, try or maybe they come with all 3. I can't even remember because I usually put 2 magnets in mine and just see what works best for you. Because sometimes, yeah, when you go to do a U move or like a U tip, it'll do a U2, and that's the worst thing ever because you're flicking it. And yeah, you want to be able to trust your ability to solve tips. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy this event because a lot of people don't even want tips on the Pyraminx in general. That's why they refuse to do this event. So if you can master the tips, you'll enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, even in this solve, for example, you can see that the blue-yellow tip there is almost +2, but he didn't even touch that tip at the end. It wasn't his last tip. His last tip was another tip. And somehow when he put down his cube, this tip almost +2. Right.
Yeah, so definitely, like, yeah, that's one of the most annoying things about Pyraminx. Definitely mess around with how many magnets you put in there. Try different types of like slow and fast lube in the tips only. And what the one thing I can advise that will, like, it's really hard to implement at first and will take a lot of practice, but it will without fail help you in this case is just to do your tips at the start of the solve. Like I know some of the top solvers, they are able to solve all 4 tips no matter what the case is. They've almost just like memorized a way of solving like any combination of 4 tips as a scramble. Like that you can practice by just randomly scrambling the 4 tips and timing how fast you get and try to keep track of the time for every configuration. It's a crazy way of practicing, but I know, for example, Stephen Winteringham, I would always be jealous of his ability to solve tips because he would just have a way of solving all 4 at the same time using both hands right when he picks up the cube, and then he like doesn't get many +2s for that reason. Okay. Well, I'm willing to go overtime, so I'm gonna look over Max's solves because Max got a very good average that he sent me. They were good scrambles, but he also turned very well, and it was nice to see. So let's see if I bookmarked it. Just a moment. We're going to go over Max's solves. I'm not sure what his average was exactly, but it was definitely high 2 or low 3. Just opening it up on my end. Okay. So everyone can, thank you, Max, for putting the scramble on screen that everyone can follow along. Oh yeah. So this first scramble, he gets a 1.73. It's a 6-move body. So you should all be able to see the solution. Just think in terms of the yellow face, what you would do. So it's really good that he has the POV. It takes some work off of my hands. So if there's a yeah, thank you for this camera angle, Max. That's actually perfect if we have another stream and we want to and you want to help out again. But here he's inserting this yellow blue edge to the back with R prime U R, and then it leaves him with L prime U L. But let's analyze the way he solves the tips. I think he tries to do all three at the start. Is that correct, Max? Or are you just going for the dot too?
Yeah, I tried to do all three, but I kind of slipped or something.
Yeah, so that's something that just comes with practice. I'm really glad that you're trying to do all three. And here, the way I would try to do all three is do that U B prime with the index and middle, all three tips. You do the U and B prime with the index and middle respectively, and then you would try to push with your right thumb downward on this R prime tip. And I think that's what you tried to do. You tried to push it with your right thumb, which is lovely. I love seeing that. But you just had to correct it right there. And honestly, what I would do, it's a very slight optimization, is instead of, if you notice that you messed up on the like one of the tips, just continue with your body. It might be hard to focus at that point, but continue with the body and do the tip at the end. Don't try to, if you mess up your tips at the start and then still try to correct it at the start, you're wasting time. But you insert that edge, and here also you can use your push and nail flicks if you can, because instead you reach for the back, and I'll play that in slow motion. So most like world-class Pyraminx solvers here, they would do that U move. You're kind of doing a regrip after the R prime. You're regripping your index to go for that U, but if you were to hold it more from home grip and do like push flicks here as well, you're reaching for the back. Whereas if you did it in the front with that push flick, probably could have gotten a slightly faster time. But great solve nonetheless. Next one. I might as well just keep it in slow motion, but anyone can follow along in the scramble. Here he has a 1-move red V, so I hope you one-looks it. One-look is something Max is still working on, but ideally he'll be one-looking, I don't know, 50% of his solves in the near future. Here, I think he's able to one-look this. L prime for the V, and then he has this case where you can do U prime, R, U, R prime, U, sledge. Oh, see, so here Max does do the push flick, which I don't think he ever did up until we started our sessions. So here for his AUF, notice how he's pushing with his left index from there rather than reaching for the back here and pulling. That's very good to see. I'm very glad to see that. So he has this AUF and he just does a push, which is exactly what I would have done. Very good. Let's look at the next one. 2.61. Okay, so I think he's going for red RU prime R as his V, which is very good. And now he has this case. I don't know if he one-looked it because he's basically bringing this bar to the front. I mentioned this earlier in the stream, but he's bringing this bar to the front so that you can do a sledgehammer to solve that bar. It's hard to see from this angle, but he's solving that edge right there, that blue-green. A better algorithm from this case, right when you're done building the V, is right here. You can do L prime, U prime, L, R, U, R prime, and then you're done. It's just 6 moves, but instead you do U prime sledgehammer to solve that edge. U prime, R, and here you're reaching for the back. But you do that AUF with the push flick, which is good. Next solve. So here there's a 3-move V on yellow that I see. Let's see if he goes. So here he's building a partial V. The 3-move V he could have seen was green front, yellow bottom, R prime, B prime, L. But nonetheless, let's continue with what he does. He solves 3 centers, then inserts this edge, which is good. It's going to give him this edge. Very good turning. But the efficiency will come with practice. And final solve. So here, this is a good example because you have this like double connected yellow block right there. This is a solved edge and this is a solved edge, but both of the centers are unsolved. And if you know top first, this is kind of like doing keyhole, where you use that unsolved edge to put in these 2 centers. And let's see if he goes for that. But you can always do it in 5 moves or less. So here, what you could do as a yellow V is L U prime L R L. But let's see what you do. And what I like to see, and this is a small thing to notice, is you're already getting ready with your back. I can see you're like mentally preparing with your back, with your right middle finger, to do this tip, this B prime tip. So let's see if you do that at the start. And I like to do that as well. As I'm putting down my cube, I put it down in a way that I'm gripping, ready to do the tips. Very good. So perfect tips, perfect tips. I'm very proud of you for that. And you put that center in. So that's exactly the V solution I had mentioned. Unfortunately, you locked up. And then here you have a hedge slammer. 1 looking will come with practice. Good AUF, good timer stop. Very few complaints on that solve. Max, do you have anything to say about these solves and what you've been working on recently? And we can kind of just conclude the stream. Well, Antoine, if you want to chime in as well.
Okay, so I've been working on flicking more often during my solves. And
sorry,
I've been practicing to like flick more during my solves, and yeah, just like flick more.
Yeah, it looks like you've got the flicks very good for the AUFs, but as you're setting up your L40 cases, you're sticking with your habit of reaching for the back, and that just takes practice. And one thing I give Max to practice with his flicks is to time the 4-flip algorithm that goes R, U prime, R prime, L prime, U, L. If you do that twice, you do a 4-flip. And I just tell him to time that on stack mat when he's bored and see how low he can get that, all while doing the push flicks. So that's probably why he's starting to implement the push flicks into his solves. But it's all just practice from here on out.
So I have another final little question about that. What do you think really is the difference between somebody of, for example, Max right now at from what I can tell about 3 to 4 seconds, right? Or about that level.
This
and
was a great
somebody
coverage for Max.
like let's say low 2, for example.
Up for, I don't know, Max, but you can answer.
Average about like 3.5, 3.7.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah,
Yeah,
when
so
we started,
what do you think is the difference in like within the solves, for example, of somebody who is about that level compared to low 2, for example? Because I already look at Max's solves and they all already seem quite fluid, and the solving is already quite nice. What do you think really is the difference between those solves and like a low 2 solve? And what like you think it's just like turning faster and less lockups?
I think
Yeah.
Max's turning is above average for his level, and um, I think that the biggest difference is being able to see multiple solutions, or at least one full solution in an inspection, which is just one looking. But the moment you can compare different solutions and be able to think about multiple things all within 15 seconds rather than tunnel visioning on one plan, then you can really assess and use the algorithmic kind of concepts that I give. You can use those more to your advantage when you're comparing two solutions rather than just one, because then you like that opens up a whole world of canceling. One V might be a lot more moves, but it cancels three into an L4E algorithm that you learned. So just being able to track pieces, understanding what kind of triggers affect which pieces on the cube. So like RU prime R prime is not going to affect anything in like the bottom left block or stuff like that. Just thinking about like where try to do blindfolded Pyraminx, one look, as much as you can. Take as much inspection as you need. These are all things I've told him in class, but for me, it's easier said than done. But it's just like like always be mindful in yourselves. Don't just solve. Try to think as well. The inverse of what Max Park.
Yeah. So I guess kind of a bit of a way to summarize it is that Max right now, I guess, is really good at doing one single solution. But really the next step is to explore different solutions and through that being able to find more efficient ways to do your solves, right?
Yeah. And one thing that can help with that is like redoing scrambles until you're satisfied with the solution that you think is efficient. And
so you do a solve,
yeah,
and then
ideally you would be able to see multiple solutions in inspection. But if you can't even one look the V, then my best piece of advice is just to make sure if you're not going to one look the V, do it on the bottom, ready to go in front so that you can recognize it as quickly as possible and you're not scrambling around rotating. But in terms of just more efficient solutions, you can build a V as practice. Just build any V on a scrambled cube and then do 3 random moves from there, and then try to like figure out what those 3 moves would have been to solve your V. Make sure you're not missing 3 move Vs. Make sure if you have a 2 move V and it can be done with either R L prime or L prime R, like the order, you can switch the order in your head, one look both ways of doing that V and see which case you're going to get on each. Tips like that, where just if you just use as much inspection time as you want, you will get the best solution. That's my biggest piece of advice.
Mm-hmm. So today on the stream we had 3 different solvers with 3 different levels. I think that was really good. One with LBL, one with like a beginner kind of L4E, and then Max with a more intermediate L4E, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I would say LBL is for Boyan, you can stick with LBL until you're around probably 5-6 seconds, and I think LBL is not the worst thing to be doing. Join my course for L4E, obviously. That will help you a lot, but LBL is good in the sense that it's just good for practice in the sense that you can start to recognize how last layer edges get affected by inserts. So like you'll just start to notice little patterns of like, oh, this edge is going to turn out flipped in my top layer, and those are things that help a lot with L4E and just intuition.
mm-hmm. And for those listening on the stream, Ben also has a 5% off coupon. So below on the screen, there's Ben CLA5. So if you register for Ben's course or for any course on Cubing Life, then you can get 5% off. Something I forgot to mention. Yeah. So any other final closing words, maybe from you or Max?
Max, you want to go?
I'll just say thank you for inviting me on this stream.
I'm really glad you joined, and thank you for filming your solves in such a good way. And I'm honestly, I would be excited about doing another stream with you some time in the future. And I think we have everyone has a lot to learn from you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
And then for myself, I just want you all to enjoy Pyraminx because I think it's a beautiful event, and I think there are a lot of tricks on Pyraminx that have helped me with my other events, like on 3x3. On 3x3, I can always plan first two pairs, and I think that's just from being able to track pieces, which I completely learned on Pyraminx. And that's kind of my style of solving, is just like tracking pieces, but my look ahead isn't the best. So that's why I like an event like Pyraminx, because I can just one look everything in inspection. But yeah, I hope you're encouraged to join my course. If you don't want to, and you have a friend who's interested in Pyraminx, you can ask them too. But yeah, I just want you to enjoy the event and keep cubing.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I have to say, I learned a lot from this stream today. I might have.
I didn't know you. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear you still are thinking about Pyraminx, or like even remember like your ways of doing Pyraminx. So maybe you can
I might have an official 3.2 average, but that doesn't mean that I'm good at Pyraminx. I definitely learned a lot, and there's a lot of things that I could improve.
I guess I'll just touch on top first. Yeah, most solvers these days probably in the top 100. If I had to guess, maybe like 10% use top first, which is a complete change from the past. It's still kind of fun to play around with, and it will help you. Like, it probably did help me like learn how to track pieces in new ways or build different types of Vs. But overall, L4E is the way to go. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that concludes our stream for today. Thanks again, both Ben and Max, for joining. I also want to mention our next stream is going to be next Thursday. I will be bringing a mystery guest, which is somebody that most of you probably, most of you should know this person, but I'm not saying who it is yet. I encourage everybody to guess, so you can guess by either leaving a comment on the video that comes out here, or really a comment anywhere, or sending us a message, sending us an email, and you can try and guess who this person is going to be. This mystery amazing cuber, he's going to be coming up, has already confirmed. And the first person to guess correctly will get a $15 gift card for anything on Cubing Life. So make sure to give a guess and see, because you might be able to guess properly. And that's the same thing for you, Max, as well. I see Max already guessed Ehung. You can give multiple guesses if you like, so you can also anywhere on our Instagram or on our YouTube or on our Facebook or anywhere you can give it a guess. And Max, you can, and Ben, do you know have I said who's coming yet? I feel like I haven't said it to anyone at all.
I can share my guess, but I don't know.
Okay, yeah, you can guess as well, but not on the stream. I'm scared that I'll give it away if you guess right.
I really have I don't know though. I'll tune in though for sure.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, thanks everybody, and make sure to join our next stream. Next stream is next Thursday, so not. We've been doing it Wednesday the last couple of weeks. It's going to be Thursday next week, but also at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so thanks everybody for joining, and see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.